The More Show is in partnership with Ozark Mountain Publishing, taking readers beyond the unexplained.
If you like what you watch, then don't forget to follow us on Facebook and Twitter for the latest updates on The More Show. Remember to subscribe to our YouTube channel for new weekly television and radio shows.
The More Show is supported by Mindscape, Paranormal and UFO Matrix magazines, available for download on all major digital platforms.
Welcome back to The More Show. Now, I'm really looking forward to this interview as I'm now joined by Dr. Joe Gallenberger, who is a clinical psychologist with 30 years' experience as a therapist. In 1992, he began to investigate psychokinesis, which is the ability to influence matter through non-physical means. Psychokinesis can be used to illuminate light bulbs, bend metals and plastics, sprout seeds in your hands, influence computers, dice and slot machines, and even create healing and abundance, all just using the power of your mind. His latest book, Inner Vegas, Creating Miracles, Abundance and Health, is receiving rave reviews. Good evening, Joe.
Good evening, Kevin. How are you tonight?
I'm very, very well. A little bit nervous with you coming on because this is so interesting. Bending spoons and all the work that you do. Let's get straight into it and tell us about your new book, Inner Vegas.
Well, Inner Vegas, Creating Miracles and Abundance and Health, tells my story, kind of takes the reader deep into that wild world of psychokinesis, where the mind, energized by the heart, from my point of view, bends the rules of ordinary time-space. And as you mentioned, many interesting things can happen in the area of affecting matter, from the psychokinesis or PK things to healing and manifesting what you'd like in your life. So far, the book's been out a few weeks, and we've had a really tremendous response, sold out of the first printing and getting lots of nice positive feedback on it. So I'm experiencing a wave of abundance, of gratitude and well-wishing from around the world right now. So that's really nice.
Okay, so is it grounded in science then?
Yes. When I first got into this, I discovered up at Monroe Institute, where they teach deep meditation using technology that helps the brain move into a balanced brain state through listening on headphones. Very quickly, I found that as my energies were higher than usual, I could touch someone and their headache might go away. That interested me quite a bit. But it's very sloppy. You don't know if they did it, I did it, God did it. It's not supposed to go away, it is supposed to go away. So the next step for me there was when I began to roll dice in a program and found I could roll whatever I wanted, such as 7 sevens in a row. And it seemed like the same energy as the healing energy. My hands were real hot, my heart was open, very grounded to the earth, and yet expanded to in touch with very high energy. And that was intriguing to me because you could study it, because we know how often statistically dice should do whatever you're going to do. So with that kind of taste, I went to a university here and participated in a number of PK experiments. One was changing the height of a fountain. It bubbles by random hydrodynamic law, goes up and down, and we had to keep it high for 15 minutes and then low for 15 minutes, leave it alone for control. And the results were thousands upon thousands to one by chance. And their next experiment was computer, where the computer is picking ones and zeros like heads and tails, where the ones are pixels from a picture of, say, a pyramid, and the zeros are pictures from a kitty cat picture. And you look at the screen and go, here, kitty, kitty, and make the random number generators in the computers pick all the kitty cat pixels till the picture of the cat comes in real clear. And we got that at 30,000 to 1, I think, by chance. So by the time I left that lab, I knew as a scientist that this was real. And that particular lab, they did some experiments, 12.5 million trials, and found significance in the billions to 1 by chance, which is much greater than you do in, say, most science, where you're doing drug trials and things, where 1 in 20 or 1 in 100 is considered a really good result. So for me, it became a scientific known, and after looking at the literature, thousands of very well-controlled experiments, I think anybody with an open mind would say this is a genuine phenomenon.
So, Joe, how would you say this has changed your understanding of the human mind?
Well, it gave me a sense that we have a lot more power than we usually think we do, and that we're endowed with this naturally. And it really changed the knowing of the important relationship between right and left brain, and then that whole brain, if we use all of that, linking with our heart, so that the heart and the mind really work as one in this particular area to get good results. And that was kind of a new thought for me. I kept them separate a little bit.
Well, does that stop it from being used for anything negative?
One could do negative things. Most times it's when you have a high energy state, but it's a negative energy with lots of fear. For example, 2 decades ago when I was going through a divorce, everything in my house started breaking. All the appliances, garage door opener, shaver, refrigerator, etc. And then I realized I was thinking broken home, in a highly energized state. And I changed the thought to building a new life, and half of the appliances repaired themselves and the rest of them stopped breaking. So most of the times, if you see a negative, it'll be somebody inadvertently is in a very negative frame of mind. I think if you tried to, quote, do evil with this, in my experience, it becomes something that would drain your energy, and you would not be able to do that very long.
Right. So the proof's in the pudding. You've actually had to use it and to control your own thoughts as well just recently.
Yes, you find it's good to stay in a very positive frame of mind, and then things really pop in a beautiful way.
Okay. So, using psychokinesis to illuminate light bulbs and bend metals, for example, I mean, have you achieved this yourself?
Yes. And most people can. It's like playing the piano. Most people could learn how to pound out Happy Birthday. Some people can become concert pianists. I'd say I may not even be at a very advanced level with this because I don't know how advanced it can go. But now in the groups we do, for example, we often get nearly 100% people being able to bend the metal, for example.
Wow, that's incredible.
It's a great teaching tool because all the things I mentioned before are being very much in the here now, very powerfully connected to Earth, and yet very connected with high energy, and then forming a very pure, clear intent, having it move through your heart energy, and then letting go and trusting this is something better tends to be what works in PK, and it gives you a very quick feedback with a dice roll within seconds. Spoon often will bend in 20 seconds, versus if you were trying to put out a manifestation, say, of finding a soulmate, that may take months or years, and you don't know how well you're doing until finally it comes to be. So the PK can give you great confidence and great learning about the training needed to do to stay in these states and create results.
Does it take a certain person to be able to use psychokinesis, or can anyone train themselves?
I think anyone could. It's more of a remembering. One of the wonderful things that's happened after some of the publicity in the last few weeks is I've gotten countless emails and reports of, I used to be able to do this as a kid, and then it faded. Either someone discouraged them, or they didn't want to appear too different when they got to be adolescents. But it seems like a natural ability, And it may even be in more than humans. They did an interesting experiment where they took a robot and they programmed it with a random number generator to move in random direction, and they imprinted little baby chicks on it, so the chicks thought the robot was their mother.
Right.
And then they put a glass divider in this big circle, put the robot on one side, the chicks on the other, and the chicks were able to go right to the border and call a mom to the other side of the border. So it may not take a big brain to do this, but rather it's an energy flow in nature.
Is this a natural progression then, do you think, to telepathy, for example?
Well, what we see is many times the more powerful you get in anything, the other's psychic skills come along with it, and we don't know if it's because your belief systems are changing or your energy is high. So as we see people move into the very high energy for PK states, often slight hunches become stronger intuitions, become absolute knowing about what will be coming along in the immediate future. And folks who are very much on the other end, where they've developed their telepathic skills, usually have a very easy time with just transferring over and also being able to do PK skills.
Well, someone like Uri Geller, then, for example, I mean, he, obviously could bend spoons and other great things. Was he using psychokinesis?
Yes, the best I know. I don't know him personally, but I know some people who worked with him and were quite impressed with him. But what I do know is then when he tried to use his telepathic skills, if you will, which we often in the scientific environment call remote viewing, being able to see without regard to time or distance. If a computer had a target, for example, of a cluster of grapes, Uri could draw without ever seeing that, every grape in the right position and the stem in the right position. So he was quite high in that clairsentience or telepathic area as well.
So would you say that psychokinesis is a word that could be transferred over to, mediumistic or a psychic as well? I mean, is it all intertransferable?
Well, psychokinesis and telekinesis both mean the same thing.
Yeah.
And they refer to a specific set affecting physical matter reality with your mind to create an effect like energy healing. The mediumship would be more opening yourself to your own guidance or higher spirit, and they're a little different in application and a little different in terms of the type of skill. But again, if a person's open enough to do one, they probably would be able to do the other more easily than the average person.
I mean, you're a doctor, you've got a scientific background. How have your peers taken your work? I mean, this must have been a sort of a life-shifting experience. Do you know what I mean? Yes.
Well, unless you do it yourself, like holding the spoon, I thought maybe it's fake or magicians can do it by sleight of hand. And I was always quite suspicious of it until a good friend who I deeply trusted and I've known for 20 years said, "No, Joe, I can do that." And then as I began to try, I had difficulty, and somebody who was really good at it came behind me and put their hand on the back of my back, in the back of the heart center, and the spoon just became like rubber. And so now I had an experiential knowledge. I had bought the spoon, I was holding it, that this was real. When we look at science now, Newtonian science would have a hard time explaining this, but quantum physics, some of the physicists believe it even dictates that this has to be possible. And the latest survey I saw of scientists, 97% of them believed that PK and other abilities like it are possible. But in the United States, I don't know about the UK, there's a group of folks who call themselves skeptics, and they really are not. They're more die-hard debunkers because skeptics keep an open mind. And these folks will not look at the data, they will not do any experiments themselves, and yet they pronounce all of this as bunk. There's a really great book, I think, called Science and Psychic Phenomena, The Fall of the House of Skeptics by Chris Carter. and it's the best description I've found of the power politics behind this. So the average person, I think, believes this, has had some at least telepathic things in their life when they know when somebody's going to call on the phone. And the large majority of scientists, particularly physicists, are inclined to be open to this possibility. One of the groups that gives us the hardest time, believe it or not, are psychologists. They tend to be a little more conservative.
You found them to be a lot more resistant to your work, yeah?
Well, and again, that's a big, broad generalization. There's many who are open, but as an entire field, their rate of belief that this is possible might be less than the physicist or other people in physical science.
Right, okay, yeah, of course. And, I mean, is there a military benefit to your work as well?
Military in the U.S. and some of its allies and in Russia during the Cold War did look quite a bit at this area of remote viewing, or what we might call clairsentience, psychic knowing. And they did use that in many applications to rescue hostages in the Iran-Contra situation, to spy on each other's submarines as they were launched, many different things. But again, the remote viewers, they found it kind of a strain, because the largest, most open, easiest flow of this energy, from my point of view, is a more loving gratitude, openness, we are all one energy, rather than there's enemies and things like that. But yes, the telepathic part was used. I'm not aware of real formal government programs in terms of remote influencing, is what they would call a PK.
Okay. Well, I'm very conscious of time here. We're just about to come to an ad break, but just very quickly, I mean, were you this spiritual prior to the work?
I had a lot of oneness experiences as a kid, and I was raised Catholic, so I interpreted that in that form, read a lot about the Christian mystics. I was in a monastery from 14 to 16 years old, where I learned contemplation. We didn't talk, we just kept silence, and then got into psychology and Eastern religions. So I think the background was there. The unique part of this would be more, it used to be more like E.T., the movie, Phone Home. That was over there on the other side. Spirituality and physical was a different world. This has helped me join those two worlds.
Okay, Doctor, well, stay tuned, and we're going to be right back after this short ad break.
The Moore Show is in partnership with Ozark Mountain Publishing, taking readers beyond the unexplained.
Visit themoreshow.co.uk/shop to purchase products and services from your favourite past guests. If you're new to this site, you can also catch up on the previous television and radio shows through YouTube and the Moore Show website.
The Moore Show is supported by Mindscape, Paranormal and UFO Matrix magazines, available for download on all major digital platforms. Broadcasting from the studios of Radio Cardiff, you're now watching The Moore Show.
Welcome back to the show. I'm still currently joined by Dr. Joe Gallenberger, who is a clinical psychologist with 30 years' experience as a therapist, and we're discussing his new book, Inner Vegas, Creating Miracles, Abundance and Health. Joe, welcome back to the show.
Thank you, Kevin.
Before we just get into your book here, which we're just about to do, is it right to to sort of to highlight gambling, to sort of give it that power, or how do you answer that question?
Well, I'll continue the story we did before the break. After being in the science lab and seeing this was real, I really wanted to deeply understand it, maybe get a black belt in it, if you will. And I looked around, where could I practice? And the best place I could find was Las Vegas, because the dice are guaranteed to be neutral, and the slot machines, having those random number generators, much like the picture of the kitty cat and pyramid, could be responsive. So I began to go out there myself, and I found it a very positive thing. Many of the experience I had had in very deep meditative states were duplicated or even more profound while I was walking and talking and running around a casino. And the results were such that I could keep going out there and practicing. And as I did that over a period of 5 years, I found the manifestations of my own life, healing abilities and things increasing. So I felt it was positive. There are people that would disagree, but I see everything as sacred, including the physical world, rather than this being somehow chopped liver and the spirit world being the terrific place. I did ask early on, particularly when I began to teach the Las Vegas Adventures, I asked in deep meditation, is this okay? And a very compassionate, wise voice came in and said, son, haven't you learned yet how much fun it is to light a candle in the darkness? And we indeed do that out in Las Vegas. We have a blessing bucket that sits in the corner, anonymous. You don't have to contribute. But in the 60-plus Vegas adventures that I've done, we've raised over $100,000 for charity, because I feel it's important when people have the privilege to meet as a group that people around the world benefit that we don't even know in a tangible way. So we use charities like Doctors Without Borders and Amnesty International and local ones to try to spread the benefit. And the crews even out there just love our positivity and our generosity and our good spirit. So I found it to be a positive spiritual path.
Yeah, so if I can, yeah, and sort of summing up the direction of this as well is, this work can be used for so many benefits. There's so much other sort of sidelines to this work as well, isn't there?
Yes, we'll have people in those Inner Vegas Adventure workshops wake up the second day saying they're pain-free for the first time in 20 years when they've been suffering from polio, or going home and having art commissions come to fruition for major works, or getting new businesses going that benefit the world, many different things. We've even had somebody who his family had very large farms in the United States here, and he found he was able to measurably raise the nitrogen content in the soil. And just think of how the world would be if we didn't have to use nitrogen fertilizers, because they're a major source of pollution. So there's applications like that. There's a fellow online, James Twyman, who taught 100,000 people online how to bend metal, and then said, now that you know your power, let's all pray for peace on the same day. And so you can apply these for pretty substantial purposes rather than just try to get a free drink in a bar or something.
Well, that's right. I mean, are you scaring the casinos over in Vegas?
No, you have to go to a good house. A casino not so good will hassle a player if they're winning, but good places like Lake Winners as well, and the places we've been, they film us and they take me aside and say, Joe, your group might take us for a little bit, but we see that whole part of the casino filled with more people, and after you leave, they jump on the table thinking the table is hot rather than the people. But we bet very small amounts of money, often even $1, but that makes people pay attention in a very different way if you have a group of 18 all counting on you with their dollars out there to perform PK, because PK is results-driven. You've all heard stories of, say, a mother lifting a car off a child to save their life.
Yeah.
Many times, professions where, like point man in a war or a police officer, you'll see the psychic abilities rise because they're needed for survival there. And so the little bit of money on the table brings people to attention and allows us to really measure how we're doing.
And again, PK, it's been used in films as well. When I think of Loopers or The Matrix, It has delved into some of that, PK,
Yeah.
bending for spoons, for examples, or some other. I can't remember exactly what happens in the films, but yeah, it's been demonstrated, I believe.
One terrific film is Resurrection, because it shows a woman having a near-death experience, and then she finds herself being able to be an energy healer, and she's paralyzed from the accident. And as she tries to heal herself, she's got her eyes closed, concentrating, putting out lots of energy. And you see the fireplace poker in the side of the room just start to bend the metal on that. And so it's a movie that goes into this in a way. They had an actually energy healer as a consultant. Another good one is Phenomenon with John Travolta.
Oh, yes.
It shows his sensitivity to nature and the beauty of the trees swaying, and his kindness, as well as his ability to move a pencil with his hand and do many different things. So it has been in the media.
Yeah, absolutely. So how successful have people been in the casinos then?
Well, we do pretty well. This is a training group, so a typical pattern, this doesn't always happen, would be the first time we go to the tables together after a whole day of meditating and learning about the game up in a luxury suite. The first session is a little rocky because people are trying to stay in an altered state of consciousness and yet remember this game that has all these left brain rules. So that one we talk about planting a few seeds, maybe, that people have that. Second session often is a break even. Third, beginning to win a little, as people get more of the hang of this. And we've had some groups where everybody won every session and other groups that didn't happen. But the results can be pretty spectacular. I can give you an example on a personal one.
Oh, please, yes.
That accents this whole idea I'm mentioning of heart energy. It's the main reason I do this, is because it continues to invite me to go deeply into my heart and be loving. And in this example, I was going after a 12-hour day of training just to hide by myself someplace in the casino, be away from the group people because I had worked so hard that day. And I had a goal of getting a royal flush in hearts, which is the ace, king, queen, jack, and 10 of hearts, to just show myself again the power of the heart. And I sat down, and just as I was ready to play, some of the group members, using their psychic ability, found me. And I had a split second. I could have said, please go away, I've worked all day. Or I could have said, oh, join me, but not really mean it and be resentful. But instead I opened my heart fully and experienced the joy of them being with me. And I said, sure, sit down, I'll teach you the game. And I hit the royal flush in hearts on my third pull, which is 160,000 to 1 by chance. And it was nice, paid $4,500, and that's always nice to have. And because I was with the people, they got to take pictures and hug me, and it was even more joyous than if I'd done it alone. So we do have results like that. We've had results on roulette that were 1.6 billion to 1. My wife and I have had identical jackpots on side-by-side slot machines that I figured was 200 million to 1 by chance. And on the dice tables, a roll of 15 minutes without getting something you don't want, where you don't want the 7 really in dice. You see a roll about every 15 minutes long, about every 20 rollers. We've had 90-minute rolls, quite a few of them, as well as many, many hour-long rolls. So it does show that the energy is having an effect.
Yes, but what are you using though to sort of raise your energy as well? I mean, you keep mentioning the meditation, but is there anything else that you're doing as well?
Sure. The hemisync I mentioned is very good from the Monroe Institute at bringing somebody into a different state of consciousness if their desire is to go there. So we use that for relaxing very deeply first, and then to a more expanded state of brainwaves, to vision success for the weekend, and to vision particular numbers coming in. So we've set a very strong goal and visualized it. And then we begin to move into using a combination of some hemisync, but also just songs that would open the heart, like Wind Under My Wings or, something about love.
Yeah.
Beautiful classical music, things that as people listen to it, they're very moved. And we come out of that, and then we go to the tables. And we do have, targets that we've set up ahead of time, and by now with over 60 workshops, there's 1,000 people or more who have been through who also send energy for those same numbers to appear a lot for us during the weekend.
I mean, you're doing this so that people can bring abundance into their life and create the life that they've always wanted. But
yes,
do you...
and the casino part is just to show what's possible.
Yes.
And from the casino, I developed what's called MC Squared or Manifestation Squared program for Monroe. That's a 6-day program, and the book Inner Vegas talks about this as well, where we do formal healing circles for energy healing. We do the light bulb lighting, spoon bending, growing seeds in your hand in 5 minutes, those things. And then from that, I developed a home study course called Sync Creation from HemiSync to be able to do this at home as a lifelong support. And we get very positive reports there as well. So again, the gaming is just a catalyst because when you're at the table and you roll, if you are connected to the earth, heart wide open, connected to spirit, feeling one with all, feeling gratitude in a very loving space, you'll get rewarded with money very quickly, every 30 seconds to 2 minutes.
Right.
If you go into greed, fear, ego, you'll get punished.
Well, Doctor, that's what
and so it's a reward punishment, a psychological conditioning toward a more enlightened way of living. So after a weekend of doing that, people go home and they've learned that with that quick feedback, and they tend to be more expanded, more loving in their own life, and then good things happen at home.
Absolutely, and that's the point, Doctor, I was trying to make as well, is that, you must have to weed the ones out that just come there just to make a quick buck. You're not after that. You're after those who are using it for the whole abundance.
I actually personally interview everybody on the phone if I haven't met them.
Yeah.
A lot of people come through meditation centers like Monroe Institute, so they're already prepared some, but some don't. And anybody just interested in making a killing or is in great lack and is desperate for money, they're discouraged from coming. And over those many groups, we've been very fortunate. It seems to attract mostly energy healers, people working in this area of refining psychic ability and learning more about their power and their potential. They may use it for day trading or whatever afterward, but we've attracted a really nice bunch of people, and that's why I like it.
Yes, absolutely. And we again, just for the audience, we keep mentioning the Monroe Institute, and that's a institute that uses science to measure states of consciousness. Is that right?
It does have that advantage. Bob Monroe was a very successful businessman with lots of radio shows, particularly the theme music from shows like in the 30s, like The Shadow. And he began to explore sleep learning, where you could learn a language, say, during sleep. And what they found is most of the learning happened right before you went to sleep and just in the first few minutes being asleep. So he developed this technology of hemisync to hold a person between sleep and awake, so they didn't fall deeply asleep and they were very relaxed. And when he did that, he found himself going out of body, meaning feeling like his spirit soared away and could go places. Sometimes he got verification that he was there, and developed Monroe Institute to explore that even further. And so now they have more than a dozen programs with the focus on finding out what these expanded states of awareness can do. But they are unique in a couple ways. One is no dogma. You can have atheists next to Buddhists, next to fundamental Christians, and everybody's getting along. And two, they use 24-lead EEGs and other brain science to actually brain map and see what's going on in these states. And most organizations haven't been doing that or haven't been doing it as long. They've been doing it for, I think, almost 40 years now.
Right. Okay. Well, we're getting near to an Abbott break here, and I want to discuss after the Abbott your work on manifestation as well. But what is your personal history with the Monroe Institute? Then is there one or?
Yes. Well, I went up and found the place tremendous as a clinical psychologist and therapist. That their techniques were very helpful in therapy, as well as exploring some of that out-of-body and psychic states that I had as a child. And so I loved it up there and very quickly became a trainer there. And I'm one of the senior trainers now, or facilitators. I've been a trainer there, I think, about 22 years now. And I developed, as I mentioned, their MC squared program and other things for them there.
Okay, and you're obviously still working with them as well currently?
Yes, I go up there about 10 weeks a year. In fact, I'll leave Friday to do another program. Their programs are usually about a week long. It's a beautiful setting, 800 acres in the country, and a really nice facility. People come from all over the world to take their programs. And they do have outreach. They have programs in England and Germany and Japan and anywhere you could think of.
Okay. Well, stay tuned, everyone. We're just going to an ad break now, and we'll be back with Dr. Joe Gallenberger just after this quick break.
The Moore Show is in partnership with Ozark Mountain Publishing, taking readers beyond the unexplained.
If you like what you watch, then don't forget to follow us on Facebook and Twitter for the latest updates on The Moore Show. Remember to subscribe to our YouTube channel for new weekly television and radio shows.
The Moore Show is supported by Mindscape, Paranormal and UFO Matrix magazines, available for download on all major digital platforms. Broadcasting from the studios of Radio Cardiff, you're now watching The Moore Show.
Welcome back to The Moore Show. I'm still joined with Dr. Joe Gallenberger, who's a clinical psychologist with 30 years' experience as a therapist, and we've been discussing his book, Inner Vegas, Creating Miracles, Abundance and Health. Now, Joe, just before the ad break there, I wanted to ask you, is it easy for everyone to create abundance?
Actually, it can be quite challenging. There's some people that have had a naturally very blessed and open life where things do seem to roll easily, but a lot of people with our life experiences, we end up generating quite a bit of fear. So in the Inner Vegas book, I mentioned the enemies of abundance. I call them my dragons, that I had to learn to deal with. And they're things that sabotage our best efforts to apply positive thinking and visualization, like we hear about in the movie The Secret and many self-help books. And we avoid them because we don't like to focus on the shadow part of ourselves. But those things can sabotage our best desires. And most of it is organized around fear, things like worry, greed, shame, impatience, cynicism, depression. And unless you have methods to deal with that, I think things like The Secret are a little unfair because you can think all day, and if your experience is such that this isn't going to happen or it's been negative in the past, it's a little hard to overcome that. I'm going to give you an example quickly, hopefully.
Please, yes.
I'm going to make a pretend one up. This didn't really happen to me, but say I was a 15-year-old boy and I liked this girl in class, and I began to think of asking her out, and I kind of asked my friends, do you think she likes me? And that got telegraphed back to her. I finally go up and ask, would you go out with me? And she says no and stiffens and reddens and walks away. I'm going to conclude she doesn't like me, correct?
Absolutely.
Yeah. Well, what I don't know is she likes me a lot. She asked her dad that night, could she date? And he said, not till you're 16. But now I have an experience. And I wait 3 months, lick my wounds, if you will, and I go up to another girl in class. And this time I'm nervous, so my timing's off. I approach her with her cool friends around her. I got sweat under my arms. I have my head hanging down, and I say, you wouldn't want to go out with me, would you? And she, of course, goes, ha, buddy, get lost. Now I have fact. I have repeated experience. And it'll tend to keep repeating unless I learn tools to really reset my energy, reset my beliefs around that. So when we've had pain in our lives, in health or finances or relationships, that we need to deal with that. And that's one of the things my home study course, Think Creation, spends a lot more time on than any other system I know, is to give in deep meditation exercises to let go of fear, feelings of lack, feelings of guilt, because fear constricts your energy and is a prayer for what you don't want, and feeling of lack tends to manifest more lack, and feeling of guilt says I don't deserve good to begin with. So most people will need to delve into that, but the good news is it's an exciting adventure, and you begin to see results often very quickly. And the main way to dissolve things is through love. I used to say I meet fear with courage. Now I say I melt fear with love. I have another saying that I put up right on my wall here. I asked for a sign. You know, people like signs when they're trying to make decisions.
Sure.
And somebody sent me this sign with my own expression written out on it. And I opened the package, and the sign says, "Fear is expensive. Love is priceless. Choose wisely." And I try to live my life that way, and I have it up on my wall so I get reminded of it often.
Absolutely.
Yeah, so that's what I think
Joe,
derails a lot of the manifesting, is just we have a lot of fear from past experience.
Joe, would you say, though, what you're doing there is you're transforming the energies? You're not walking away from them, you're transforming them. And would you also say...
Right, you can't deny them.
No.
Then you're out of touch with reality.
Yeah.
But you have to face them in a loving, compassionate way, in a very forgiving way.
And, well, you've had to face up to this in your own life, by the sound of it, just recently. So, like I said before, you're living this right now.
Yes, I live it every day. Bad things still happen, but your reaction is very different. You know,
Yes.
I had a kitty cat of mine savaged by 3 dogs right in front of me, and she died in my arms. And I live out in the country. And I went to the owner of the dogs, who I've never met, about a half mile away. And the first thing I did is give him a big hug and then say, we need to talk about something kind of soulful here. Where my old reaction would have been, anger, recrimination, feelings of victimization. Now I respond in a different way. My brother committed suicide about 20 years ago, and it was really crushing on the family. And I realized I was holding an image of a broken heart. And then I thought, that's just a belief. And I changed my belief. And it's like a hand going in water. You're fully enveloped. And if you leave, the water goes back to complete, perhaps taking a drop. And since then, I've gone through the death of my mother and my father and many other people that were important with much less of that savage grief. So your attitudes and your energy will make a big difference.
And yeah, and it's like you say, you keep coming back to this word of love, this word of you're not going to attract the things you want in life unless you believe in your core that you're worthy of it as well.
That's for sure. Love for yourself and for the world we live in, with all its glitches and flaws, and love for everybody else in the world. Then magic comes towards you.
Absolutely.
And that can be, there is technology now, like heart math. Even something as simple as putting your hand on your heart brings your awareness out of your head and into your heart. But it can be challenging to learn to be more loving. I use very much the beauty of nature, classical music, good friendship. I don't listen much to broadcast TV news. I live in a beautiful area, as I've mentioned. Things that just naturally buoy up your spirit and help you stay in a nice open state.
Absolutely.
And fortunately, my job, I get to meditate 20 weeks a year on the road when I'm training people in meditation.
Okay, Joe, could you just make sure you're just a bit closer to the microphone as well, if that's okay?
Sure, I'd be glad to.
There you are. Come back strong now, yeah. So just going back to the spoon bending, I mean, this isn't just a trivia, is it? I mean, this is an important part of the course, is that right?
Well, it's an important part for many people, because they might start saying, gee, I'm afraid I'll be the only one that cannot do this. But if you go deeper, they're usually afraid that they can, because it is a very strong experiential symbol of the power we do indeed have, and that the world is different than we thought. So, again, when you have that experience holding it yourself and it turns to butter, it's transformative in terms of your belief. And that's why we use it. Now, some people just don't take to that, but growing their seeds in their hand in 5 minutes is powerful, or rolling the dice. So it's one of many, and we try to have a variety because different people will have an affinity for certain PK tasks.
Right. So you can't be good at all?
No. Well, you could be quite good at most, but you probably, the first one, it's easiest to pick something you like to begin with, like I love working with plants, or I really like, this is exciting to roll a dice, or it'd be fun to light a light bulb. And all of them have that potential to take you in that route, and once you've done one, then you know it's possible. It's much easier to do the others.
And Joe,
you might as well start with something that you're intuitively called to, as something like, I think I can do this.
Yes, and Joe as well. If you want to attract money, or if you want to, it's something materialistic, that's okay as well, isn't it?
Yes, I feel very much. Most people are of goodwill, and how many Mercedes you're going to have before you get bored and say, what else can I do good with this? And so money is an energy. It's an important one. To have, our model is you fill yourself to overflowing and then have the overflow help others. And I've met people who do tremendous things with their money, reclaiming forests and many other good acts. So
yeah.
It's nice if that energy is in a place in your life where you don't have to worry anymore.
So what you're saying is if I sum this up, is that once you've attained a certain spiritual level of caring about others, of seeing the connection with others, that we're all connected at a much deeper level, then these so-called spending dips or whatever you might want to call it, they actually live a much more a life without assets in a sense, not as a hermit, but yeah.
Yes, and you may go about getting things differently. Like I wanted to go to Paris with my wife. She'd never been, and I love the Musée d'Orsay there with the Van Gogh room. And I thought, gee, I'd like to go to Paris. Well, that night I got an email saying, would you like to train a program in France? Therefore, my way is paid. And at the end of the day, I thought, I'd like to go over a first-class round trip. That'd be romantic, and had free first-class tickets. And the person who gave those to me free ended up to be a very significant friend and business partner later. So you begin to use other ways to get things besides money as well, with the idea, I always say this or something better. So that trip to France developed 10 more workshops in Europe. In one of them, I was over in Germany, and we yelled bend to bend our metal, and the whole group's heart shrank. And there was a big memory of the Holocaust and the war. And we sat in a circle for a few hours and did some healing with that. So you have these desires, which, again, I said I think are good, as long as you put out this or something better for myself and everyone. And you realize you're all okay already, and these things are like the cherry on top of the sundae.
You've hit an important... You've hit an important note there. What you just said is that it's the benefit not just for yourself, but that of others as well. Definitely,
yeah. We all have that power to really be lights to each other. And the simplest thing, when my brother committed suicide, I got notes. He was across the country from his town of people who just wrote notes because he had been kind to them in a grocery store when they were the checkout person. And the garbage man, and the mailman, folks who he was always kind with, who usually people sort of just ignore and think of as part of the servant help. And so you have tremendous impact, even if you're feeling pretty powerless, just by your smile, by your good intention.
Yeah, absolutely. And what is the most important thing you would say you're trying to teach in your work, and why is that important to the world?
I think my main message in Inner Vegas and in my workshops is that we're miracle workers, and we live in a miraculous world, and we can indeed shape our personal futures and the world's welfare. And I think it's an important time to do that with all the chaos around. And if we clear our limiting beliefs and raise our heart energy, we can focus it for healing and welfare and abundance for all.
Yeah, and like and that's the important part, isn't it, as well? And is the work you say the work that science has took an interest in the work, but is it scientifically proven? Is that line between the work you do and the science becoming closer?
Yes, I've seen psychokinesis proved in a laboratory. That's very expensive to do. $500,000 to do a really good controlled experiment over many years. So that's that. Then I can look at statistics at 1 in 10,000 or 100,000 to 1 on some of the things we do in Vegas on the dice and slot machines. And then I can look at that metal and know metallurgists looked at it and said it's impossible. The molecule chain is too long. It would just snap. It would not bend this way. And those kind of things are hard for science to study because of the possibility of faking. But when you're holding it yourself, then, your own scientist in you goes, okay, this is real.
And, is Vegas where you're going to be based just for the foreseeable future, do you think?
I love going out there. I think if I won the big lottery, I'd still do those groups because I learn something every time, and people seem to get such benefit. I actually live in North Carolina, so I just go out Vegas 5 times a year or so, do these groups. And I do the Sync Creation Home Study and Sync Creation workshops in Europe as well as the U.S., and I like to have that time, too. So I'm not much for hanging around the casinos all the time.
No.
And but it's just one venue that I found useful, and it's one that I labeled the book after, Inner Vegas, because it's where I kind of got started. And but I love going. Like last time I was in Europe was a 5-star resort in Cyprus on the Mediterranean. We had people from, I think, 13 different countries. It's very nice to meet people from different cultures and all of goodwill, and for them to feel like a community within days. So I wouldn't say my main energy is to Vegas, but it's a significant thing that I'd keep doing just for the heck of it.
Okay.
It's so productive and so much fun.
Okay, so do you plan any other books after this? I mean, where is your work heading? Where would you like it to head towards?
I will have to see on the book, since I just finished this one and it came out just a few weeks ago. At this point, it feels to me like the next few years will be riding this wave of getting the message out and doing further refining, because it seems like such a joyous thing to do, and it seems to be of such benefit for other people right now. So I wouldn't guess where I'd be, 5 years from now, but I assume it'll be someplace really interesting in terms of where this will go. I think what we are seeing is an advancement in these psychokinesis skills, so that what we could do 10 years ago with metal bending or growing seeds is 10 times better now, both how many people can do it, how fast, and how well. And so I think we're in an exponential curve that more and more people will realize that they can affect their own reality and create a much better one than they've been living in. And that's very positive for my children and grandchildren.
Yeah, I mean, that's the important part, isn't it? To say that we've got the power, you can, and the change can happen instantaneously, can it not?
Yep, it can be quite a sudden thing if your heart opens wide and you just have that grace come into your life where all of a sudden things are changing.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, where can people find out more about your work to begin with? Well,
the easiest probably would be to use the book title, Inner, I-N-N-E-R, Vegas, V-E-G-A-U-A-S, innervegas.com, and you'll go to the books page of my main website, which is called syncreation.com, and you can see other people's experience there in journals about the Vegas thing. You can see that survey of 60 people on the Sync Creation Home Study course, and you can get an idea of pretty much what I'm about from that website pretty well. So that's a good way to access. I also have a single CD called Manifestation with HemiSync. If somebody just wants to get a taste of this brainwave technology and not dive into the whole course, that's available on that website as well. So innervegas.com or Sync, S-Y-N-C, Creation, CREATION.com will take you there.
Okay, and again, on your website, there's links for your book as well.
Yes,
and the workshops.
Innervegas.com will take you right to a book page. You can get it there. You can get it on Amazon UK.
Okay.
If you get it through me, I autograph it. If you get it through Amazon, it's cheaper. So.
Okay, that's fair enough, right? And again, the workshops are on there as well, so that's fantastic.
Yes, they are.
Okay. Well, Dr. Joe, thank you so much for joining us today. It's been one of the, I've really enjoyed this interview. I've told you that off air as well, and I'd love to get you back on again in the future.
That sounds wonderful. It was my pleasure. Felt like I was talking to a friend in my living room, and I'd love to be on again. And
I appreciate that.
I hope it's very beneficial to your audience tonight.
Absolutely. Well, thank you so much for joining us.
Okay, you take care now.
Take care. Okay, well, we'll be back on air on Friday, where you can catch us at the same time, 1 o'clock in the morning. Now, don't forget, this interview will be available as well as a podcast and also on our YouTube page. So until next time, thanks for listening.
Visit themoreshow.co.uk/shop to purchase products and services from your favourite past guests. If you're new to this site, you can also catch up on the previous television and radio shows through YouTube and the More Show website.